Trey, we are live. What's up, buddy? How are you?
What's up, man? Nice weather.
Are you ready for this weekend?
I am. My tackle's not, and everything else. And I'm going to be leaving. I'm going to leave taking a half day tomorrow, so I'm getting down there pretty early so I can pre-fish on Friday a little bit. No, I'm not. Not pre-fishing on Friday. Just kidding.
Just do it, man. Nobody's. If somebody else is out there with you, then
and then all of a sudden, when
they were pre-fishing too, we were both out there cheating.
Right.
So
it's okay if you do it on the dock, right? No, it's not. No, I am excited though, Jonathan. This is my first one. Taney, it'd be really cool. Taney, I go down here to Tombstone Tackle a lot and talk to a lot of guys that fish there. And, a lot of guys believe that the next state record is going to come out of Taney. And I've heard, more than one person say that brown diet that they have in there is just, tons of protein. And, the water temps are a little cooler, but people say that that's where the next giant's going to come from. So wouldn't that be really cool that if we set a state record during a Moyak event?
Yeah, it'd be interesting because, do we keep it? And
right.
That's your first fish, but you got a state record, or do you let it go and hope that you win the tournament with it? It's like, what do you do?
I never thought of that. Because you would have to let it go if you're going to keep it for the tournament, right?
Yeah.
What would you do?
I don't know. I don't even know what the state record is, so I'm probably better off not knowing.
I think it's 14, 12 or 14. That's a huge difference, but on both shoulders.
Yeah, so I'm probably better off not knowing. Yeah. Well, let's get into it. We got 3 hammers, 3 winners from the last 4 years. The crazy thing is that one gentleman has won it the first time and the last time, and that's where I'm going to start out with. So 2021 Moyak Taney 20 champion, 2021, back in the day, in the heyday, Tommy Probst. What's up, Tommy? How are you, man?
I'm doing all right.
What did you win? What did you win it in 2021 with? How many inches did you have?
It wasn't many. It might have been like 72.
76 3/4.
76. Okay, I remember it wasn't much.
Yeah, and then last year you just blew it away.
Yeah, I got lucky both times.
Man, tell us about. Both years. I know you were last year. It was like I was out there for a couple hours, and I just threw my Texas rig out there, and they just had it. Tell us about it, man.
That's pretty much it. I was one of the last ones to take off last year. I got there a little late. Everybody took off, and I started going up towards Bull Creek and noticed a spot that I fished before that nobody had stopped at. And as soon as it was lines in, it was game on. And I think I was off the water by 10:30 and went up and got some food and came back down and sat there and just waited for everybody to come in. It was just one of those days.
Wow.
Did you buy a lottery ticket after that?
No, I probably should have, but I didn't.
That is wild. What are you thinking? I know you're not competing in this one. What do you think of this weather in this weekend?
I think it's going to be a lot like that last winter series. I'll be surprised if they get in the 80s as cold as it's been, to be honest with you. I've never done well there fishing the main channel, so maybe somebody can figure them out in there. But what was it, 87 won this winter series that happened before this last cold snap?
Yeah, it sounds about right. I don't remember off the top of my head. I can probably look it up.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I guess it's going to be between the first year that I won it and there. It'd be the winning weight or winning length. I don't think there's going to be any 90s or above this year unless something crazy happens, like a warm rain that gets them kicked up and going. It's too cold right now.
What was the weather? What was the conditions like that first year you fished it, Tom?
It was really cold. It was icy on the line starting off. And I didn't pre-fish either time. So I just went up Bull Creek, and I didn't catch my first fish until I was, I guess it was up on the right-hand side where past all the boat docks. That's where I caught my first fish. And then from there, it was just picking them off here and there. I caught one decent one further up the creek where it gets deep, and then just a few small ones. And I think I had 4 fish, and I was about ready to give up. And I was talking, I think it was Jonathan back there at the boat ramp, and he was letting me know that I was sitting pretty good and I just needed one more fish. So I messed around those docks until I finally caught a 12-incher, and that was my last fish right before time was up.
Nice.
Well, I don't know.
Already swinging with some juice on us, giving us a lay down on a couple decent spots. All right.
Not when it's cold. It's not. I mean, like I said, it's colder now than it was then, I'm pretty sure. I mean, last I heard, water temps was like in the 30s up in the coves and stuff. I mean, it may have warmed up some. That's awful cold to be going down there.
You know, I'm just happy the weather wasn't like last week, so I'm stoked about that. I don't know. I may have just stayed home if the weather was like it was last week, but 2022 Dorman Hughey, the Taney Como Fish Whisperer. He won it. He won it with 89.5 inches that year. Dorman, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How about you, bud?
I'm ready to get fishing, man. I'm ready to set some hooks, you know?
I'm so ready to go fishing. You have no idea.
Tell us, man.
Yeah.
Tell us how you been. What have you been up to? What do you got going on, man?
Man, just recouping. That's about it. We got a heart disease going on and so on. So I'm sure everybody already knew that. But, yeah, just been recuperating from that, doing my exercises and just trying to keep on keeping on.
And you're born and raised right there, Taney County. Is that right? Like right there?
Yes, sir. I was actually born in Branson.
Nice. So if you had to pick one restaurant in Taney, in Forsyth, right there, what's your go-to restaurant?
Man.
Is it the Mexican place? I like the Mexican place.
No, I'd probably go with the pizza cellar down there in Rockaway.
All right.
That's some good pizza.
Trey has a giveaway.
Trey, tells guys, coming to you tonight straight from Japan. I'm coming with the juice tonight. So 2 3/8 Sun Gill. These are color number 52s. Kind of hard to get. So you got to order them through JDM. They're not an American jackhammer, if you'd call it, not the Bread Height. It's actually the collab with the Missouri Chicano series. But these will be going out. We got a trivia question, and I'll be able to bring these to an event. If you guys are going to if somebody gets it from the 20 or some of that, I'll bring it to the event and be able to give it to you guys. So will be a test question tonight at some point. The thing is, the kicker is this test question is going to be something that we had asked last night. We're not going to ask again tonight. So hopefully you guys watched last night, and if you did, it could pay off.
Dorman, in 2022, do you remember how you caught him? Do you remember what you were on? What kind of day?
He remembers.
I don't.
I guarantee he remembers.
Really no. Oh, yeah, probably the same thing I always throw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what I was using.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Appreciate the help there, bud.
No, I was throwing. No, back then I was throwing plastics and moving baits and that kind of stuff. Doing a little finesse fishing, doing a little power fishing, just mixing it up a little bit.
If you could, let's be honest. So,
okay,
Trey, it's Trey's first time. The first 2 times I went to Taney Como, I skunked. I'm not gonna lie, I skunked. Couldn't even buy a bite. If you're gonna tell someone to throw one thing, what are you gonna tell them to throw? Just one thing, not the juice, not just what's one thing that you would tell them? Put it in your hand all day, and just be happy with it.
Man.
Because about noon, I'm not going to have any bites, and I'm going to go tie on what you tell me, and I'm going to call it good.
Probably a jig.
Okay.
Probably a jig.
Yeah.
Because you can fish it so many different ways on that lake.
So
there you go.
Kind of piggyback off the same question, not asking you about lures or spots or anything, but for guys that this is their first time on Taney Como, we have no pre-fishing coming up. And let's say they are in that spot where JD was talking about. It's noon. It's 1 o'clock. They don't have a fish. They haven't caught. They just don't catch a fish. Can you tell us how that mental attitude on Taney works and kind of what you do in them situations? Not telling me like what you throw, but how do you prep yourself mentally? Like I've heard you don't really go a long distance without catching fish. But what would you tell a new guy that this is the first Taney 20 they fished? They're getting out there with 19 other of the best anglers based in Missouri, and I would bet I'd put money on it in the nation. It's so there's some people out there, a couple rookies this year. We got Noah out there. This is his rookie year there. Some people that's just never did that. Because tell us what we can do, what I can do, just to be able to overcome that mental part.
On that lake, the next cast could be a 20. I mean, it's that quick. And that 20 could be followed with another one and another one. It just, when you get on them, you get on them. So just keep your head down. Just keep casting. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Taney Como is pretty wild because you get on there in that main channel, and you can talk about the storm a little bit more than I can. I mean, being down there, like you get on that main channel where that main, current's at and all that. Yeah. I mean, it's wild. Like you can get in there and the temp could be, 5 to 10 degrees different to some of those pockets, where there's vegetation, there's grass, even Bull Creek there. I mean, there's so many different water temps that you can go in there. I mean, is it worth it to fish the riverside, the cold side of Taney? Do you think have you ever have
I do in the middle of
there?
summer. I do in the middle of summer. Yeah. Yeah. There's a certain time and place. It's just one of them things on Taney Como. It's always the timing and what's going on, the conditions. Always fish your conditions. It's that simple. I mean, if they're sunny, go to the deep weeds. Those bass don't like the sun. I'll tell you that right now. If it's cloudy, they're going to be out and about. But yeah, it just depends on the time of year and so on. That up there in the back of the coves and all that stuff, that gets really hot in the summertime. We're talking like 80s and so on. And their bass ain't used to being that hot throughout, most of the year. So they'll head back out a little bit further and hit that cold coming in, hit that right in between.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then in the wintertime, they could be laying out just outside of all those coves and so on. I mean, laying into the edge of those weeds, because those weeds get pretty thick out there.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be interesting, but I think you're right. I think as long as someone, kind of fishes the conditions, fish their confident bait, stick to their game. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
So 2023, Mr. Chad Davison. Chad, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good.
Chad, you won it with 96 inches. Not quite Tommy Probst stuff, but pretty bag, man.
Yeah, and to be fair, you got to look at. Second place was Dorman with 95 3/4, and then I think Lance had 94 or something like that. So they were. That was a crazy year because I was down at Lake Chickamauga for the Bassmaster National Championship. I wasn't even sure if I was going to get to fish it, but luckily or unluckily, whatever, I didn't do well enough to have to stay down there. So I was able to scoot back to Missouri, and I made it back. I got back Friday night and showed up Saturday for the Taney 20. And it had been raining like crazy the days leading up to it. It was flood conditions. The water was up in the parking lot there at Rockaway Beach was underwater. Everything was blown out. It was like chocolate milk, muddy. And we weren't even sure we were going to have the tournament. The night before the tournament, there was still talk whether Josh was going to move it to Table Rock or something like that. And Josh, in his infinite wisdom, said, we are setting up for the perfect conditions right here. We're not going to move the tournament. And it just so happened it worked out perfectly. The water levels dropped. The water got out of the parking lot. It was crazy. When you're out there, there was a streak of clear water over on the the bluff side where the current was washing in the clear water. And then like up on the like the shallow side of the lake, it was all like chocolate milk. And I had no idea what I was going to do or what to throw or anything like that. I just went out and kind of stumbled into one of those pockets that had a drain in the back of it. And I noticed that there was like clear water coming into the drain. And so it was like swirling and mixing, but the water was just enough more clear there that it seemed like Josh always said that like those Taney fish get stupid when the water gets dirty because they're so used to the clear water. And that's exactly what happened is I just put on a jackhammer. It was a golden shiner with that gold blade. I like it in like kind of dirty water. And I just started throwing that chatterbait and like areas where it was just like a little bit cleaner. They were just like hammering it, and I was catching big ones, and it was a lot of fun. It was a crazy tournament. This is Wap, by the way. This is the dog that I rescued at Lake Wapapello last year during the Kayak Adventure Series tournament with Moyak, and he was a stray in the campground where I was staying, and I rescued him and brought him home. But anyway, so that was the deal at Taney last year, is just crazy conditions. The water was dirty and the chatterbait bite was on fire. I don't know if that's what Dorman and Lance caught theirs on, probably like a chatterbait or a crankbait, I would bet. But it was kind of a weird year. I definitely wouldn't count on that this year.
Yeah, and
I was actually using the big blade chatterbait.
That year too, you guys were stacked up 94, 95 and 3/4, 96 inches top three. Chad, Dorman, and Lance, and then you guys didn't even have the big bass. Dave Neal had the big bass of 20 and 3/4. So I mean, all three of you guys were stacked up there, and I mean, you guys had Chad and Dorman had a 20, and then Lance had a 20 and a half, and then big bass ended up being 20 and 3/4. So like it was crazy, but yeah, it was that whole week was wild. Like it literally looked like, I was looking at some of the photos, like the identifier was mud. That's what Josh put as his identifier because it was literally like the week of or week before, like it looked like someone just like poured chocolate milk down it. It was nuts. It was crazy.
Now that was probably the first time a lot of people that's fished Taney seen that. Dorman, did you pretty much already know what type of situation you were going into with Taney being like that? Did you ever fished Taney before when it was like that and kind of knew what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I was in Josh's ear a little bit about making that decision. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, this is setting up to be tremendous. I mean, yeah, I figured there's going to be some special things happen. And I was kind of right.
In your whole time fishing there, how many times have you seen it really like that?
Oh, about once a year, really.
Okay.
About once a year, yeah.
There's only like a day or two probably where the conditions are just right.
Exactly. But if you can get out there on it, it's fun. It's real fun. There's one rainy day. It was on a monthly. I think it was the first day or second day. I put up 105.5 inches. That was fun. That was all in one day.
What's your biggest brown trout?
4.5, 5 pounds. Not huge. 20, 22-ish. It's right in there somewhere. I don't really go fishing for the trout. I fish for the trout eaters.
Did you ever did you ever fish for stripers there at Power Site?
Yeah, I fished for stripers there at Power Site quite a bit.
What's your biggest striper?
I've only caught one, and it was about 14 pounds, about 23, 24 inches, something like that.
I used to know that old man that used to own the tackle shop there in town. He passed away, I guess. He used to be in there with a real long-haired dude used to work there, but I guess he don't work there no more. Moved back to like Arizona or wherever he's from. But that old man used to have wiggle warts in there, and he would sell them in the back. And I'd always go in there and check out his wiggle warts. He was a cool old dude, man.
He was cool. He was a good old man. He could fix a fishing pole. Yeah. I'll tell you that.
Well, I fished that winter series there a few weeks ago, and I didn't do that great. I did catch 4, but I feel like the conditions are somewhat similar, although I know that like time of the year, moon phase, length of the days, all that does affect the bass. But I think the water temperatures are going to be similar to what it was a few weeks ago. And I mean, I tried to fish some of the areas where they typically go to in the spring where they want to spawn and stuff like that, and they just weren't there yet. But like, I think that jerk baits are still going to play, and flat side crankbaits seem like they always play there whenever I've been there for the Taney 20. But you know, there's a lot of different baits that could play. I caught one on an A rig a few weeks ago. And of course, jigs. I know jigs were big a few weeks ago. So I think your typical spring cold water baits are things that you're going to want to have tied on. And I didn't catch any on it, but I feel like a rattle trap would definitely be worth throwing. I mean, obviously the grass and traps do well in colder water. So I don't know. I'm going to have all those kind of baits tied on.
Tommy, what are you throwing, bro?
If I go down, I'd just be launching an Empire and try to stay away from everybody. But the same thing Chad's talking about if I was going to try. I'm not in it this year.
Yeah. Well, just come out there and fish and tell us the story how you catch 105 inches while everybody else is struggling, and just have a great time.
I just had like I said, it was just pure luck. Everybody picked different spots, and I just happened to fall in the right spot where they were coming in, I guess. I don't know. I wish I could say it was all knowledge, but I fished there many times and hadn't caught nothing. So it was just luck.
So speaking of that, and knowing this is a shotgun, kind of a shotgun start. Am I right? Did I say that right? This is what it is?
It's not really a shotgun start if they're doing them in order. It's just
okay.
Regular,
well, I mean, we're all launching from the same ramp, is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay. So like when we talk about fishing etiquette, maybe people that's not done this before. So we're all launching out. It's kayaks can't go a long distance anyways. Can you guys tell me what your opinion is on fishing etiquette and what that looks like? Because people are going to be trying to get to spots that someone's on or going to the right of them or the left of them. Can you guys maybe explain what fishing etiquette means and what's the best way to go by doing that to be respectful?
Well, I would say, number one, the golden rule is treat others how you would want to be treated. And number two is communicate. And if you're coming up on a person and they're fishing an area, just say, hey, what are you fishing? Do you mind if I fish over in this area? And they'll either say, yeah, go ahead, man. It's all yours. I'm doing this over here. Or they're going to say, actually, I'm actually fishing this area, and that's part of what I'm fishing. I would appreciate it if you would kind of go around me and fish a different spot. And if people just communicate like that, then I think you avoid a lot of problems.
And being able to be receptive of that information too, right? Like asking that question, and if somebody says something, then not copping an attitude about it or getting angry about it, but just use that communication. Because even if they was to say that, and maybe my response would be, well, how far down would be okay, right? Like I would like to know, not just be like, no, you can't fish right here because I'm fishing right here to right here. Well, can you tell me like where I should go if I go down there? Is that enough room? And doing that without sounding sarcastic. I think there's a balance there. Like really, if you're explaining to somebody, be like, yeah, I'm probably fishing here to that transition down there. But anything past that, I'm probably not going to do. So being clear in your communication where you're telling someone, yeah, I'm either fishing here or not there, but being really clear on that communication, I think would be really important also.
I mean, I don't really think it's fair for a person to say, I'm going to claim like 100-yard stretch and say this is all mine. I mean, I think it's fair to say, I'm fishing this little area, like maybe 100 feet or something like that. I mean, like I said, treat others like you want to be treated. And if it would bother you, if somebody is fishing, like if you're catching fish on a spot and somebody comes up and starts fishing like within a cast of you or even 2 casts of you, I mean, that's kind of close. Yeah. And, if you're close enough to like be able to talk in a normal voice with each other, then that's pretty close. But if you're far enough away that, you'd have to like yell to hear the person, well, that's pretty far away. That's probably reasonable.
That's a great rule of thumb, Chad.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. So for people that don't know that, that's a great deal. And that's what you think. And everybody's going to have a different opinion, but I love that. I love that that's a great way to be able to explain it. So,
and with Taney, like it's kind of different because a lot of us are going to get in the same pockets that are like literally you can like they're tight, you know, like Chad and I, you and I, we were in that same pocket last year. And, you know, of course I got there before, and I, you know, fished what I wanted to fish. And then, you know, on the way out, I didn't blow past you, blow out the spot or anything like that too. So, you know, think about that too. Like if someone's coming in a pocket and you're leaving it, you got a motor, like, you know, maybe just kind of chill out, maybe like leave it fishable for somebody else. You know, we've heard stories about that, you know, on the Elite Series and whatever and stuff like that, of people just blowing out spots, but, you know, kind of be mindful of that as well. But like, this is one of those events where everyone's excited to be here and we have little to no entry fee and we've got a pretty decent payout. So like, you know, keep that in mind too. Like, yeah, I want to take it home too, but at the same time, like it's not worth it, you know, leaving getting up to the back to the ramp and having to hash it out. You know, so, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be tight, and that's why we've gotten away from Taney Comas, because we've got so many anglers, and it's just you know, everybody likes to fish the similar areas. So just definitely keep that in mind. And I mean, who knows? Like maybe somebody gives you some juice, or you know, maybe you figure out somebody from something that's not struggling versus. But yeah, just be respectful, be cordial, because yeah, it definitely will get tight.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember the year that I was catching them, like a couple of years ago when I won. I mean, people saw me catching them, and I saw quite a few people would be fishing like within sight of me, and they would see me catch a fish, and nobody ever tried to crowd in on me. Everybody always they might fish from a distance, but they always kind of gave me space. And I feel like the Taney 20 is not going to be a problem at all, even though it does fish small. Like, we all know each other. We're all like somewhat seasoned kayak anglers because we've all qualified for this, and we fished with each other all year last year, and everybody respects each other, I feel like. So I don't really expect it to be an issue, but it's certainly good things to talk about, because it's always an issue, especially in tournaments where we're competing against boats and everybody else, and there might be literally 1,000 boats on the lake for a day on some of these tournaments we'll fish. And you do, not only kayaks but bass boaters, you need to be respectful and communicate, and everybody just needs to share the water and get along.
Dorman, what were you about to say?
Oh, I was thinking in some of those places with pockets, there's one way in, one way out, you know, and everybody likes to go, you know, a certain circle, you know, one way or the other. You can always go in behind them and ask them which way they're going and kind of fall in behind them if you're wanting to fish that same area too. I mean, that's the way Taney Comas fishes.
I am stoked. I'm so ready.
I'll fish behind you, Chad. I'll pick up everything you left.
I remember that, like, last year, Jonathan and I were practicing, and we both were in that same pocket. And I'll just go ahead and say it. It was like Dorman's pocket. And I know Dorman fishes in there, and Jonathan knows Dorman fishes in there, and I know Dorman fishes in there. And Dorman wasn't fishing, so we were both in there. And and Jonathan was like, I was like, are you going to start in there? I know Jonathan has a faster kayak than I do, so I wasn't going to beat him there. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to start in here, but he's like, I'm probably going to fish for a while, and then I'm going to go head down the lake. And so I started somewhere else. And then, you know, a couple hours into the morning, I kind of started cruising in there, and Jonathan cruised out, and we just, you know, we communicated, and, you know, he left. I moved in there. I fished for a while. I caught a good one back in there. And, you know, There's a lot of fish, and they're constantly moving around. So just because somebody fished an area like 30 minutes before, you can go into that same area and either a fish will bite that wasn't biting before, or the fish are just constantly moving around. And so it doesn't hurt to fish behind somebody. It doesn't hurt to wait for somebody to leave an area and go in behind them. You can still catch fish. So there's plenty of water for everybody.
Yeah, that same day, before you got in there, I caught a 20.5 in there too. So I caught a good one in there as well. And I mean,
Yeah.
that pocket, those pockets are so small, but there's like Dorman said, like, I think that day it was sunny, like they were cruising around, they were roaming. So like those fish were moving. Like I got into another pocket further up, and like I could see them around the dock just cruising. So I mean, it's definitely like if someone's catching them somewhere, don't freak out, don't take off and run. Like, you know, just hang out, fish, you know.
Yeah, I'll leave a place I'm catching fish for 15, 20 minutes, turn around, go back and smack another one. Leave it for a while, go back, smack another one. It's unreal. Like I said, could be the next cast is a 20-incher, that easy.
Josh says there's fish in every cut, pocket, and cove on that lake.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. So,
Chad, man, I've really looked into like your history. Your bass fishing history, just even outside of a kayak, and it seems like you've always
sounds a little creepy, man.
I know. I mean, I was a little bit Chad obsessed there when I started. We all know that. Like when I first started kayak fishing, and you're somebody that's still like a mentor to me and somebody that I really look up to. And you know, I had seen that and noticed that you did really, really well in boat tournaments, and it seemed like you did a really good job in like the winter series tournaments. Like this, for whatever reason, you like shine in the winter series. Is there a reason for that? Like, what's your mental attitude? How do you do so well in the winter?
I don't know. I think right now Micah Funderburg is probably choking right now, laughing because he considers himself to be the winter series guru. But I did beat him this year. But yeah, I don't know. Winter tournaments are different. I like winter because usually you can like just go out and take a few rods, and you know, you can. For me personally, I feel like you can go out with a jig, a jerkbait, and an 8-rig, and you can catch fish on one of those. So winter is a fun time. There's fewer people on the water. It's, you know, a lot more. There's more solitude out there, and I don't know. I've always liked fishing in the winter. I don't know that I've done better in the winter, but it's certainly fun to get out there. I like fishing in the wintertime, and we've got some good wintertime fishing here in the Ozarks, even, you know, with the way the temperatures have been, you can find some place to fish in the wintertime. So I don't know.
I think you made a great point though, and I think Dorman highlighted on this last night. You said where the winter fishing is just more simplified. And I felt that with myself. Like if I go in there to my living room right now and look at everything that I have, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as what it's going to look like for Lake of the Ozarks or when I go to Table Rock next month, like, because it's kind of simplified. And I feel better inside. Like I just feel better inside when I can grab 6 rods. I've grabbed jigs, some trailers, some jerk baits, some A-rigs, and I just got it all right there. Instead of wondering like, well, what if this plays? What if this plays? What if this? I need this crankbait. I need a deeper crankbait. I need a flat side. I need spinnerbait, chatterbait, all this stuff. And I become overwhelmed. And like Dorman said last night, he's like, dude, I went out in a kayak that wasn't even mine. I had a hodgepodge of different rods and reels. I had a Walmart bag full of plastics and went out there and just smoked them, right? And just kept it super simple. And sometimes that's some people's jam. Sometimes it's not. But I think there's something super special about when you can keep it simple, right? Do you, Dorman, do you feel like people overcomplicate bass fishing these days?
A lot. That stuff's more of a distraction than it is help, if you ask me. Some people depend on it, Chad. I mean, but you know, to each their own. Everybody fishes different. Well, I understand it. If it helps, do it.
When you fish for a long time, you get confidence in a lot of baits. And so that's what my problem is. I've caught them on this bait in this time and this bait at this time and this bait at this time. And the longer you fish, the more baits you have confidence in. So then it gets more complicated. But you're right, though. We do overcomplicate it for sure. I do. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my goals this year is to try to simplify and take less stuff because I'm taking like hundreds of pounds of crap with me that I only use about 10% of it. But
there's been many tournaments about halfway through it, I've just sat down and just took a minute and went, all right, we got to chill the hell out, you know, go back to basics. Let's do this, you know, just sit there and collect your thoughts and think about it for a second.
Dorman, will you tell us what 3 Dorman basics are? I'm not talking about rod and reel. I'm talking about lures. Or what's the basics for Dorman? What does that mean to you?
Basics.
What is taking it back to basics?
It's just me. I'm basic. No, man, the basics.
It used to be a pack of smokes, a bump board, and some soft plastics. That was the basics.
That was the basics back then. No, but no, that's basically it. Just go back to what you learned on. What did you catch them on back when you was a kid? Think back
I love
of
that.
how you did it. And what you caught them on, where you caught them at. Just kind of take mental notes.
Yeah, I think that's a key point. You got to find a few baits that you have a lot of confidence in, and you always I always look at there's like different zones in the water column. There's the bottom, there's the middle, and there's the top. And most of the year, you can fish top water. I don't know that top water is going to play at the Taney 20 this year, but regardless, I mean, you want something that's going to cover the bottom, something that's going to cover the middle, and just something you have confidence in, whether that's a shaky head or a jig or a tube or a Ned rig or whatever. That's a bottom bait. And then the middle, you got spinner baits, chatter baits, crank baits. You don't necessarily you can have one person throw a chatter bait and one person throw a spinner bait and one person throw a crank bait, and they're all going to go through the same area and they could all catch fish on those baits. It's whatever you have confidence in. So, if you'd rather throw a square bill, or if you'd rather throw a spinner bait, or you'd rather throw a chatter bait, find something that you have confidence in that covers like that depth zone or that water column. And, and then you got to look at water clarity. Some baits are better for clear water. Some baits are better for dirty water. And then you can look at seasonal patterns and stuff like that. Like what's the water temperature? But, in general, you can keep it pretty simple. You don't necessarily have to take 10 different chatter baits. You can have like a kind of a clear water looking chatter bait, which would be more shaddy or more translucent, and then like a darker one, like a black and blue for like stained water and cloudy skies. And you can keep it pretty simple if you just just keep a couple options. You don't necessarily need to have every color that they make in DT6. You maybe can just have 2 or 3 colors. But
back when I was walking the banks learning and so on, I usually have 2 fishing poles, a spinning rod and a bait caster. Bait caster would have a spinner bait tied on it, and the spinning rod would have like a Texas red plastic worm or something like that, something finessey. And that I'd walk for hours catching fish on those 2 fishing poles. I mean, you couldn't carry around a whole lot back in the day, or I couldn't carry around a whole lot back in the day with me fishing and so on. So a bag of plastics and a couple of lures, head out.
Dorman,
I know Tommy likes to throw soft plastics, I think.
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah, you can't go wrong with soft plastics, that's for sure. At least, well, I guess you can. I've got my butt beaten enough in tournaments, but you can almost always catch fish. It might not be the best way to catch them, but you can almost always catch fish on them.
Tommy, if you could only pick one color of soft plastic, not just speaking of Taney, you just say all year long, what color are you grabbing? You can only pick one color.
I've caught more on black with blue glitter than anything, I'd say. 10-inch power worms on down the cross. That's what I've caught most of color-wise anyway.
What about
Tommy,
you, Chad?
I mean, I'm kind of with Tommy, but I mean, I also kind of want to say green pumpkin, but definitely if you had green pumpkin and black and blue or black, I mean, that's like really the only 2 you really need. I mean, you can take green pumpkin and then you can take like a spike it marker or some of that dye and just dip it in like chartreuse or orange. If you got like super dirty water, you could like brighten it up with some chartreuse or orange. And then if it's clear water, you can just, leave it more natural green pumpkin, and then you could just throw green pumpkin in any water condition. But it seems like black and blue works in clear water, it works in dirty water. So, those 2 would certainly get you by in just about any situation.
Dorman, you agree with that, or you got 2 different colors?
Watermelon red.
Now he's giving
That's
up
my
the
bad.
juice.
Got him.
Well, you could add 2 and 2 together, maybe. We are a bunch of fishermen. I don't know.
That's good stuff.
Tommy, was it a tube that you won Palmy on earlier this year?
Yeah. Yeah, that the day we had the storm come through and everything. Yeah, almost every fish I caught was on a tube. I did catch my first 17 on a worm, but after that, everything else was on the tube.
I'm pretty sure I think the one in the fall, the Big Bass Bash, I think it was one on a tube as well. I think it was one on a crocodigator tube. So tubes making a comeback, it sounds like.
Crocodigator has some pretty amazing tubes. They're like double dipped, and they got several colors that are like green pumpkin with like the orange tails, and then like green pumpkin with the blue tail, and then a PB&J, which is like a really cool like a brownie, kind of a brown green pumpkin with the purple tails. And actually, that may be what I have on for Taney, but yeah, those crocodigator tubes, they got a lot of salt. They're really good.
The first time I had, just to show you how new I am at this, that I had seen Chad, he showed me a tube modification where, I never knew you could Texas rig a tube. Like I didn't even know that was a way. I didn't even know that was a thing, right? I just thought you got tube jig heads and put them in there. Now I've learned these stupid tube, Texas rig tube, like all different ways to rig a tube, thanks to 10-horse Monty and the stupid tube. But yeah, Chad, you were the first one to show me that you could just Texas rig a tube, and that was really cool. So
yeah, I catch a lot of fish on the tube. Texas rig, you got to be kind of careful about your hook selection. You want one with a lot of bite or like a real wide gap, because they're bulky, and but something you can do is kind of slice one side of your tube so that you get a better hookup ratio. And then I've been playing around with a bunch of stupid tube heads, and I found one that I like, and I'm working with Jason at Crocodigator I don't know when, but he's got so many things going, but we're working towards getting a stupid tube head from Crocodigator for their tubes. But the stupid tube is another cool way. And then Table Rock, I throw one with just the exposed hook a lot, where you just put the jig head inside the tube. So it's a versatile bait.
It is.
I hear some music. The fat lady singing.
The fat lady is trying to sing. We're gonna wrap this up, guys. Really appreciate you guys coming on. I'm gonna run through some details real quick. We're at about 45 minutes. So Saturday, first launch 7 a.m. Of course, we start with boat 20 and go down from there. I'm gonna plan on live streaming it, and that way people that are not there can kind of check it out. So make sure and tune into this. Probably for sure on Instagram, it'll be live streamed there. Lines in 7:30 a.m. Competition ends at 3:30. Photo submissions at 4. We'll start the awards at 4. Guys, if you're not in the Taney 20, you're not fishing. Come on down, hang out. We're gonna have food, barbecue, all that good stuff. If you have some tackle stuff that you guys want to get rid of, to sell, to swap, whatever, bring that as well. But seriously, gentlemen, thank you guys for coming on tonight. Thanks for giving us a little bit of the juice, maybe not all the juice. Trey, what you got, man?
I got it. I just thank you guys. Again, from the bottom of my heart, being a huge part of my recovery. It just means the world to me, being able to just to be in the group of you guys and everybody out there that's listening to this tonight. That this is a huge part of my recovery, and I'm just grateful you guys accepted me. So I do have a giveaway. So you want to do this now, Jonathan?
Do it, man.
So first one to answer the correct answer. Jonathan's going to be watching it rolling in. I don't know where you're going to comment at. Jonathan, do we have a specific place where they're going to comment?
Wherever they want, wherever they're watching it.
All right, so the first person to comment, what was Dorman's PB? How many inches?
It was on last night. If you watch the show, don't cheat, Chad. Don't tell him. Don't give him up. Nobody's guessing.
Nobody's saying anything. Do we have anybody there?
We'll leave it on there. Oh, Mr. Coakley. Mr. Coakley just beat Mr. Cody. Tyler Coakley. Is that the correct
Tyler. I'll
answer?
see you Saturday, buddy.
He owes me some chatterbaits, so those probably mine.
Okay.
Guys, but seriously, thank you so much. Looking forward to this weekend, setting some hooks. Guys, thanks again for coming on. Feel free to come on down, Taney 20 this weekend. Be there, be square. We're out.
Thank you. See you guys.
Good luck.